Okay. Apologies for that. SubhanAllah. Okay. Alhamdulillah. We will continue from where we stopped, inshallah ta'ala. And just wait for a few seconds for people to join again, inshallah ta'ala. From Zoom. Okay. 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 Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalam ala Sayyidina Mawlana Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. The brother who said there's something he didn't understand, inshallah, please message me privately, inshallah ta'ala. The Sabir, I think his name is, and we'll discuss it. Okay. So, we were up to talking about seeds. And, sorry, grains, not seeds, grains. And we said that grains must be sold by grains. If you want to sell grain for grain in the same category, once they are dry, once the outer shell is removed, they're able to be consumed and they're not crushed and they're not cooked. Okay? And they're not wet. They are not wet. Okay? Even if they're both wet. You don't know how much water is going to be in the grain that you sell. So it has to be exactly the same, both the same. Okay. What about seeds? Seeds. Sesame seed, whatever you want, other seeds, okay? Seeds that have oil in them can be sold for the same seed in 3 different ways. Okay. Number 1, they can be crushed after being drained. So the seed mush. They can be sold as full seeds, and the oil itself can be sold. If we have oil of a seed, it's the same amount. 1 kilo of sesame seed oil, or 1 kilo of sesame seed oil. Yes? 1 kilo of sesame seed, 1 kilo of sesame seed. Full. Same. What about meat? Okay, I'm selling you 1 kilo of beef, 1 kilo of beef. Okay, if it's sold for the same cut of meat, it must be dry. Must be dry. Like pastrami, for example, or meats that are dry. Must be dry so that we know that it is equal. Usually you don't know how much fat, how much water, how much this, how much other things in the meat. Has to be dry. Okay. Another ruling is that generally things that are cooked in riba are not considered equal. Okay. And the only exemption is if the cooking process, all it does is separate 2 different kinds of food. Doesn't change it. For example, ghee. Ghee is made by boiling milk or butter or something like that. Okay, and then it's extracted. So you have the original product and you have the ghee. But it doesn't change. Or honey, when they boil it, they remove the honeycomb and then they sell the honey. So honeycomb is one type of food and then honey is another type of food. So you're just separating, but you're not changing and you're not adding to it. That kind of cooking is fine. You're not selling biryani for biryani food. Yeah? Okay. Now, when it comes into modern day cooking, they're cooked at the exact same degree with exact same ingredients, like a factory making biscuits, for example. Okay, there's wheat in there, there's sugar in there, but they know the exact by gram how much is in a biscuit. Yeah, they want to be exact same features in every single biscuit, no matter how much they'll produce millions, it'll be the same. Okay. Many scholars today, okay, believe that this is permissible. That what the scholars were worried about in riba doesn't occur here. Because they always say the reason you're not allowed to have it in these cooked or something like that is because we don't know the exact amount of every single product. So many scholars today do get fatwa, and this opinion is something that makes it easier for people. If you want to sell biscuits or biscuits, I don't know. I'm not into that, but if someone is into that, yeah, يعني, many consider it to be equal in that. But if they're not exactly equal, 100% from every angle, you can't do it. The company might be a company that some companies are very budget, they just change every single packet's different than the other one. Then you don't know what you're buying or selling. Okay. Like we said, milk, yogurt, and ghee, okay, are all considered to be their full form. They don't reach any other potential. Milk is milk, yogurt is yogurt, ghee is ghee. Once it's milk, once it's yogurt, once it's ghee, it's in its full form. Okay, we're talking now about when can an item reach its full potential, so we can sell it for the same item. That's what we're talking about. Same topic that we started with. Milk, yogurt, and ghee are all considered to be in the same full form, and they can be sold for the same price. Okay, but cheese and butter are not the same. Scholars don't consider cheese and butter to be the same because it differs in the amount of ingredients in it. And the same thing that we said with biscuits, scholars say when it comes into milk and butter, to cheese and butter, if they're from the same factory and they're done exactly the same way, then inshallah, it's not as big as an issue. There are many other rulings in riba that are mentioned in larger books, okay, that take a lot of time. For example, there's a ruling that says لا يباع مد عجوة ودرهم بمد عجوة درهم. You can't sell a measurement, it's called the mud, of ajwa, of dates, okay, with a piece of gold and exchange it for another mud of dates with a piece of gold. Okay, now you don't know exactly what is for what, how much is for how much, so it's riba. And inshallah, in future classes, we'll talk about that in detail. That's a whole class by itself. Okay, and another ruling the scholars mentioned is that لا يباع الشيء بما يتخذ منه. Can't buy an item. Items can't be sold for their origin. Something that is extracted of something, you can't sell that for its origin, because generally that would be riba. And there's a lot of other things, like I said, small little matters here and there that we'll mention in future books, inshallah. Okay, let's get to the big question, which is regarding modern day currencies. Okay, are they considered to be gold and silver or not? And what is the ruling? Can we sell for example, $10 for 10 euros? Does it have to be the same? Can we sell dollars for dollars? Can we sell gold for dollars? What are the rulings? This is the kind of transaction that people worry about today. Okay. Generally, we know that Imam Shafi'i was very big on gold and silver being the reason of riba, to the extent that he said that fulus, what's fulus known as? Money. Back in the day, fulus used to be something that's not gold and silver. There would be small little pieces of metal that they used to buy and sell with, for tiny things. And then large things would have to be a piece of gold or a piece of silver. Okay, but the small piece of metal would be known as fulus. Okay, he mentioned clearly his own words that fulus has no riba in it. Okay, that fulus has no riba in it. They say that money, currency, has no riba in it, and it's actually gold and silver. Imam Shafi'i mentioned that in his own books back in his day. Now, until about 50 years ago, or whatever it is, gold and silver throughout history has always been what people use for buying and selling. And later on, even though people stopped using it, the bank would always have gold and silver on behalf of every single dollar that you have. So every dollar you have would be basically there would be gold and silver that you can get on behalf of that dollar. So gold and silver was separate than the dollar. Okay. Today, what we see now is that nearly every country in the world has basically cancelled out something called gold and silver. People don't consider gold and silver to be other than a separate item that they buy and sell. Can't buy and sell. If you want to buy and sell gold and silver, another one. You go to the shops and say, "Like, give me a piece of gold, give me the car." They're not gonna. If you go to the bank and you have a piece of gold, they give you money, they won't buy it. So basically, today all people know is these papers that we deal with, and that's what our scholars say now. Not even paper, just the numbers that we do online. That's all people use, and this has really created a huge space of discussion for the scholars of today, inside the madhab and outside the madhab. And it's one of the matters that probably takes 80% of conversations between scholars and different fiqh organizations out there, what to consider riba and what not to consider riba. And there's a lot of conflict, a lot of arguments that happen today. Generally, in the Shafi'i madhab, okay, you have two, and this is, I'm just mentioning it, look, I'm being as clear as I can. I'm trying to mention what is beneficial for people, and so that if you go to any classes out there, you understand, you might hear different things out there, okay? In the Shafi'i madhab today, you'll find two different approaches to this. You'll find a group of scholars, that might be a lot of them, who consider today's money, because of what I mentioned, to be gold and silver, okay? And to take the ruling of riba, everything. And I think most people give fatwa according to that. And you find another group of scholars who stick to the literal word of Imam Shafi'i and say that there's no riba when it comes into banknotes at all. So there's two groups of scholars out there who basically, in the Shafi'i madhab, they've differed when it comes into this matter. I'm not mentioning this to open the door for people to, jump into something that isn't clear or there's dispute about between the scholars. Okay, but at the same time, I don't think it's right to just hide information from people and confuse them more and more. I think that's wrong too. So inshallah, we look into it, and what we come out with is that there's a huge difference out there between schools. My own teachers, some of them get fatwa according to the riba, some wouldn't. Okay. Outside the Shafi'i madhab and outside the Hanbali madhab also, so the Malik and the Hanafi madhab, I believe the scholars, most of them or all of them, give fatwa that there is riba in banknotes. But the Hanbali and the Shafi'i madhab, you find this kind of basically conflict between the scholars. Is it riba or is it not riba? And especially in the Shafi'i madhab, because Imam Shafi'i's words are very strong when it comes into flus not being considered riba. Now, because of this, if we take the safe approach, which we should when there's a difference, we should try to stay away from what's dubious and, build our transactions on what is clear so that we don't fall into haram without knowing. We know that eating haram is one of the most dangerous things to ever do. Okay? So if we were to consider them riba, okay, we take the safe approach. We consider them riba. Then the scholars say, if we consider banknotes riba, if we consider currencies riba, then every single currency is considered a different type and different category by itself. Okay? So you can sell $10 for as many rupees as you want. Million, trillion, doesn't matter. It's a different currency. They don't have to match in value. Okay? But they have to be hand in hand. So you go to the exchange little shop and tell them, Yallah, I'm going to give you a clean, clear American $100. How much can you give me? And you start to argue with him. It's halal. Take whatever he gives. Okay? So if we do consider them riba, then every single currency will be considered a different type. And you have to do hand in hand, but you can take different values, there's nothing wrong with that. If we consider them riba. That's one thing. The second thing, when it comes into bank loans and stuff, then no. Out of what I know, that all teachers I know agree that this is riba, because, like we said, riba in debts is something that doesn't have anything to do with these categories that we mentioned. You take a debt from someone, you can't say, pay me back an extra $1,000 or $20,000, whether dollars are ribawi or not. That has nothing to do with bank loans. So that's another thing that's important to mention, inshallah ta'ala. And these are the most important rulings when it comes to riba that a person should know, inshallah ta'ala. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from us and to forgive any shortcomings and mistakes that we made. Riba is a very large section in fiqh. There's a lot of details that basically have no end, and the scholars keep on mentioning different examples and rulings in different books. But these are some rulings that I think it's important for a Muslim to understand and to know when it comes into riba. And after reading this class, if we go back to what Abu Shuja mentioned, I think it's clear. Like he said, his wordings are very short, but he said that the riba is only in gold, silver, and things that can be consumed. And that you can't sell gold for gold and silver for silver unless it's the same and hand for hand. But you can sell different categories, gold for silver, silver for gold, with different amounts as long as it's hand by hand. And if they're in totally different categories, then you can sell them as you like. That's the general rule for riba, and we talked about that in detail, inshallah ta'ala. Next class, we'll start with choice. When do you have a choice to undo the contract, and when don't you have a choice? That's what we're going to talk about next time, inshallah ta'ala. And ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If there are any questions, quick questions. We're over time, so we won't take many questions. If anything really important, or else we'll leave the questions to next time if there's any. Question in the chat says, are gold and silver only the pure metals or include jewelry? Is it permissible for someone, for an example, to trade rings for something else? Beautiful question. If the piece of jewelry contains gold and silver in it, if there's gold and silver inside that piece of jewelry, then there is something ribawi inside that, okay? You want to sell that for another piece of gold and silver? You have to. You can't just sell it as you like. You can't sell it with a different value, a different amount, different weight of gold. I want to sell a ring that has 10 grams of gold in it, okay? And also according to what type of measurement that gold is. I can't just sell it for any other ring because it's got other diamonds with it. No. It's got gold and silver in it, khalas, there's riba in that. You have to be careful, you have to go according to the definitions. Because of this, my advice is that whenever we buy jewelry that has gold or silver in it, and I think even white gold enters into this because white gold has gold in it mixed with something else. So it has gold in it, okay? Anything that has gold or silver in it, buy it with cash. Don't buy it on card, because the card usually delays, doesn't pay you straight away. And when you're selling something that's ribawi or something ribawi, you should do hand in hand. So you buy it cash. Any jewelry you want to buy it in cash. I know my brother's getting married and stuff. It's hard. You take 2,000 in cash. And the people in the shop might be shocked. You know? I did it before, but it's a good practice to get used to. That you buy gold and silver in cash. So no. Okay. Now, gold and silver is ribawi, yes? Okay. And cash, what is cash? Ribawi. If we consider it ribawi, yeah? What type of cash is it? If we consider cash ribawi, it's going to be from the same category as gold and silver, yeah? When it's from the same category, what are the conditions? Has to be hand by hand, yeah? I mean, okay. If there's gold in it, then there's riba in it. Yeah, have to be careful. Hmm? Look, you're selling gold with something else in it. Okay, for gold with something else in it, there's a lot more details to the matter. I can't go to detail now because, like we said, remember selling a mud of dates with a dirham. Okay, and selling all there's when how are we going to deal with it? There's a lot of details to that, inshallah. We can't cover it today in this class. But generally, if something has gold and silver in it, know that there's riba in that. Be careful. Okay, know there's riba in that. Okay, so that's all for today. فالانتهاء إن شاء الله. صلى الله عليه وسلم محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم.